everyone, welcome to another episode of rawradianthealth.com, and I'm Natasha St. Michael, and thank you so much for joining me. So today's Wednesday, it's the middle of the week, and today I want to talk about nuts and seeds on a raw food diet, because I get a lot of emails with people that have a lot of issues with nuts in particular, that have a hard time digesting it, and they're kind of like, what do I do? They get bloated and gas, constipation or diarrhea, or they're burping up sulfur, like all sorts of stuff. And this is an issue that comes up a lot. And the first reason why is that a lot of times when people are getting onto a raw food diet, they're coming from like a diet before, like a standard diet, that they're eating a lot of processed food and a lot of refined food, which weakens the digestive system. Processed food in general, you know, it's full of, like, there's no nutrition in it, and everything's been so broken down and processed that to digest it, it's very easy. But over time, if you're eating this kind of food all the time, your digestive system becomes weakened and more like laxed, you know. So suddenly people get on like raw foods, and it's like the opposite. Suddenly they're eating foods that are like full of nutrition, but are like also full of fiber, roughage, cellulose, and materials that are really hard to break down and that take digestive strength to, you know, and fire to get the stuff broken up and the nutrition released and out of you. So, you know, it's a lot of times people think, oh, you know, it's the nuts and seeds that are making me sick, and it's like, no, it's more that your digestive system is a little bit weak right now. We got to strengthen that up in order for your digestive system to be able to handle this condensed food, because nuts and seeds are very condensed. They're full of, packed with nutrition, and nutrition that you need. You know, like, you guys know, I don't believe in cutting out any of the food groups in the raw food diet, because it's limited enough, and you do need nuts and seeds in your diet to have a well-balanced diet. You need it for your nervous system, for your neurological health, for your bones, for your muscles, for your brain, for your emotional and mental health as well. It's really, really important. Nuts and seeds are full of essential fatty acids, which are crucial. Omega-3s, omega-6s, omega-9s. Also full of minerals. A lot of minerals you can't get anywhere else but these nuts and seeds. And they also have a lot of protein, which is very grounding. You know, and it just, you know, nuts and seeds, they're substantial, they're filling, and they just add to having a well-balanced diet. So I don't ever want people to cut this out, but sometimes people run into issues and they're at a loss. Like, you know, what do they do? You know, like their body's just not agreeing with it. So I want to give you guys some tips and also some guidelines about how much nuts and seeds you should be eating and which ones are easier to eat than others. Because the main thing is that even though you might have one bad experience with one nut, doesn't mean you're going to have that same experience with all nuts. And the same thing goes with the seeds, that it's important to try different things out, because sometimes your body might not react well with one thing, but it might react much better with another. And by preparing these nuts and seeds in different ways, there's ways of making it easier to digest, much easier. Okay, so the first thing, I just want to give you my recommended amounts. The main thing is with the nuts, I recommend just having 8 to 10 nuts a day. That's it. 8 almonds, or 8 pecans, 8 walnuts. That's it. If they're higher fat nuts, like let's say a Brazil nut or a macadamia, you might have 4 a day. But that's all you need. And with the seeds, I would say anywhere from 2 to 4 tablespoons of seeds a day. Some people might need more nuts and seeds, some people less. But this is my recommended amount. And let's say you're having both. Like, you wouldn't want to have 4 tablespoons of seeds and 8 nuts. You'd want to have maybe like 4 nuts and 1 or 2 tablespoons of seeds. So, you know, you change things up. You don't eat the same thing every day. Sometimes you might have more, sometimes you have less. But this is just for you to know how much, you know, because a lot of people write me and they're like, I just ate a bag of nuts and why do I feel so sick? And it's like, yo, like, you just ate, you know, a few cups of nuts. Like, that's really, it's hard on the digestive system. It's hard on the liver. You know, you don't need much of it. So you always be mindful with the nuts and seeds. Now, when it comes down to selecting which ones are easier to digest than others, the main thing I find is that with the seeds are usually in general much easier to digest than nuts, okay? Because they're higher in carbohydrates and lower in fat. I find with the seeds in general, chia seeds and hemp seeds that are shelled, soft hemp seeds, are the easiest to digest. Most people don't have any problem digesting either one of them. The chia seeds, you soak them in some water, they become kind of like gelatinous, very soft. Hemp seeds also very soft, easy to digest. You know, other seeds like flax seeds, people have issues with, but they don't have issues with the chia seeds. So if that's you, try the chia seeds out and see what happens. And also great is pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds. They're also good, and they're easier to digest than nuts. With the nuts, I find pine nuts to be the easiest out of them all to digest. And I find almonds as well. Some people do well with almonds, some people don't. Some people, if they actually peel the almonds, they do much better on it. That's something to know. Things like Brazil nuts, macadamia nuts, and cashew nuts, they're very, very high in fat, that a lot of people are very sensitive to that you might just want to have like one Brazil nut, you know, and that one is better than none, and you might be fine with it, you know. So, you know, you don't need to eliminate things. You just might need to like have just a little bit of it. Now, when it comes down to preparing the nuts and seeds, that's where you can really change your body's reaction to it and make it so much easier on your digestive system. First thing is washing your nuts and seeds. Most people are not aware that most nuts and seeds coming out of the health food store, the bulk bins, and even some of the packaged stuff actually has traces amount of fungus, of mold, and of spores and dirt. So you want to wash them. A lot of times your sensitivity to the nuts and seeds might not even be the sensitivity to the nuts and seeds, but it might actually be towards the molds and the funguses, okay? So what you'd want to do is when you come home and you bring them home from the health food store, you want to rinse them off really well, and then you want to fill up a bowl of water, and you'd want to use food grade hydrogen peroxide. This is 3% hydrogen peroxide, not the hydrogen peroxide you get from the chemist or the pharmacy in the brown bottle. You want to stay away from that. You want to get the food grade type, which you can either get at a health food store or online. I'll put a link for this. And you just put like 2 drops of hydrogen peroxide in a big bowl of water, or 2 sprays of the stuff, and you just let the nuts and seeds soak in it for like a half an hour. And then you rinse it really, really well. The hydrogen peroxide will kill all the bacteria and the molds and all that. It'll get rid of it all. And then you rinse it out really, really well. And then you re-soak the nuts and seeds in fresh water for 8 to 12 hours overnight. The next day you rinse it, you strain it, and then you can either eat it right away, or you can store it in your refrigerator anywhere from 3 to 7 days. And you store it in water in a jar, fill it all the way up with water, fresh water, put it in the refrigerator, and every day you just change the water, and it can last 3 to 7 days. Okay, so that's how you soak the nuts and seeds. Super easy. It rehydrates those nuts and seeds. It gets rid of the enzyme inhibitors that can be toxic to the body, and much easier to digest. To take it one step further and make it even easier to digest, puree it. Make it into either a seed cheese or a nut cheese, or make it into a vegetable pate. I find when you're making vegetable dips and pates with the nuts and seeds, by adding in the vegetables like the zucchini and maybe like red bell pepper, some lemon, some garlic in there, and different fresh herbs, when you're pureeing those nuts and seeds with the vegetables, so much easier to digest. First of all, because it's being pureed and like pulverized and like mashed down, right? It's like being pre-chewed up. And second of all, it's getting mixed in with these fibrous, water-rich vegetables, which the roughage helps, and the fiber helps to move those nuts and seeds that are mixed into it through your digestive system so much easier. Most people, they're like, wow, you know, I can't eat nuts and seeds normally, but if I make it into like a seed dip or a nut dip, no problem. It's so much easier to digest, especially if they're eating the dip with other vegetables, like they're dipping their carrots in it, or their cauliflower, or the broccoli. Then again, it's like you're just diluting those condensed proteins and fats in those nuts and seeds, just make it easier to digest. So these are my tips, and you know, I just want you guys to enjoy your food and just figure out ways to make it that you don't have to cut it out, you don't have to be scared of it, you don't have it causing you illness and problems, but you find a way where you meet your food midway and make it work for you. Alright, so I'm wishing you a fabulous day, and just a reminder that the next 7-day raw food challenge, it does start in less than 2 weeks. It starts June 14th. So go to my website, www.rawradianthealth.com, click on 7-Day Raw Food Challenge and sign up today. Have a fabulous day. Bye.